So today we're going to have the option of the use of a pole, or if you don't have a pole to hand, or you prefer the give brought about using a band of some sort, you could use your band. I'm going to switch between the two of them so you can get an idea of what might be appropriate for you. But for now, bring those props beside you, somewhere close where you can grab them easily, and then head down onto your back. We are setting up for bridging initially, so it just gives you an opportunity to find yourself on your back. So feel the spread of your torso. So it's as if the pelvis is moving away from the shoulder blades and the shoulder blades are moving away from the pelvis. And then sort of settle in. How are your surroundings? I've got this lovely, soft ray of light coming in to the studio today, so sort of makes me want to just close my eyes initially. Just helping then sort of sense the ground, how it's supporting the back of the body. Where have I just naturally come to lay, particularly with the pelvis and the lower back, but also picking up on those other areas as well. So sense in your own circumstances the softening of the body as you prepare to start to move with that mindful approach. We're starting with the feet and we're going to connect them down into the floor a little more purposely. As you do that, the pelvis just starts to feel light enough that it is no longer being supported by the floor. In turn, it is being supported by the feet and the legs. Can you feel the ribs moving away from the spine in their pairs, so that by the time your hips are high, you can still create a place of contact with the shoulder blades and maybe even the ribs that lay beneath the blades. As you breathe out, same idea. Let the ground support you from top to bottom. Perhaps it feels like to you you've got some unraveling to do at the tailbone end of the spine, or maybe the pelvis lands a little bit more obviously with its weight in the center. And once more we go down into the feet. Could you get the sense that the front of the body is simply falling into the back of the body? That if we were looking at the body in terms of volume, front body is really turned down. And you can sense that maybe through the face, the throat, jaw, just the skin through the front of you. It's just relaxed there as much as it can be, especially through the torso, and then using your breath out to travel back down. So for us at this moment, mobilizing the spine, using the feet and legs to support that as an action. Do you feel then you get an opportunity to check in with each pair of ribs as you're peeling away and each pair of ribs as you're coming down? Because if you do, then you know that you are creating some mobility through those segments. Last one here, where we are tuning in, moving without a prop for now, and then sighing to come back down. And so I'm going to reach for the pole next. And so if you don't have the pole, please continue with this mobilizing of the spine as your initial movement. If you do have the pole or something similar, you're going to rest the heels of the hands against the pole. And there is a sense of you're gently pushing the pole away from you. So feeling that. And as you stand down and start to peel off, you'll notice that the pole begins to roll beneath the palms of the hands. And there is that subtle connection downwards, but of course, the front of the legs feel like they're pushing the pole away from them as well. And so from the top here, you take your breath out. Notice the focus may have changed to mobility through the spine, in that because we're quite active through the arms in comparison to how we would usually be, you don't quite have the same sensations as you're peeling the spine off. And so your arms are staying straight and the shoulder blades are parting, and be aware of overly pushing down, but you're certainly aware of this smooth roll of the pole against the palms of the hands. So again, if you've got the pole to hand there, you can keep moving. Our other option would be to pick up the band, and the band is going to eventually end up quite narrow against the thighs. You're holding it evenly each side, and this time the arms will stay down on the floor. So you're pushing down into your feet as you have been doing, and the arms will stay down so they are equally as active here using the band as you would be if you were using the pole. Perhaps a little more so because, of course, the hands are going to work to stay in contact with the floor. Down with the feet, hovering the pelvis, and again you'll notice that soft articulation of those pairs of ribs isn't quite your focus now, as you're meeting the resistance of the band with the hands and the arms, and of course noticing the reaction to the back of the body as you're standing, hovering and tilting. So back of legs. Does this for you generate more of a connection into the back of the pelvis? Still be aware of the ribs and pelvis relationship, but altogether there's just a different level of intensity, and so a different focus at this point. I'm going to take one more of these, down with the feet, hovering and tilting. If you need more bands, loosen off through the hands. Watch out for the ribs working hard. It's still going to be about the back of the body supporting. And then from there, you're going to lower yourself down. So let's go prop free for a moment. Still back on your back there. And we'll start with some arm arcs. So the arms will go to the ceiling, and then they're going to arc backwards. Options to reach the fingers back there really wide through the armpits. And notice the shoulder blades, notice the sensations through the shoulders themselves, and then carry the arms all the way back down beside you. So we could take a breath in here as we take the fingers to the ceiling. How's that? How are the ribs? How's the pelvis? Is it possible to keep an element of ribs and pelvis as the arms arc backwards, open through the armpits there, and then carrying the arms back beside you? You can either do this with the band, or once more you can take the pole. So make a choice this time. Thumbs are coming on the other side of the pole, fingers opposite side. Pole feels like it's resting in the groove of the thumb. You've also got an opportunity, particularly when you're starting at the ceiling here, to imagine that the pole is heavy as it carries the arms back. And then bringing the arms back to the ceiling there. What breath pattern would you prefer here? You get a sense of the upper arm bones rotating outwards. And with your thumbs positioned where they are, that's limited. It does feel like, in a way, you're trying to snap the pole in half here. And your band could be looser, so you could be wider with your hand position. Same here, you could be wide to the end of the pole that you're holding there. And then you can either bring the band to your lap or rest the pole down there. We're going to head into open and close here, so it's just a sense of finding the breadth across the chest. Maybe you bring a little cushion in for this arm sequence, see how it feels for you. And then we're going to finish off with some circles. The arms are going to carry all the way back as they did before. Arms are going to open out to the side. They come all the way round there, palms facing up towards the ceiling, just sort of knocking things out of my way as I travel. Hands will end up resting underneath the pole, and then you simply open the arms out to the side. For the reverse movement, bringing your arms all the way up and back to where they started. So they head back, opening out to the sides, palms facing up towards the ceiling, and you can limit the range if you need to. Hands can come underneath the pole. Maybe for you they end up above it. And then opening the arms back out to the side. Full circle. Lifting up the side body as they head back up towards the ceiling. For one last movement. And carrying them back. Small range, slow movement, plenty of breath. Taking either the pole or the band here back up to that starting position. Remembering that there's a little bit of I'm breaking the pole here with the little finger side of the hand. We're heading into dead bugs. As you breathe out, stand into one foot to float the leg. Inhaling when you're up here each time and exhaling to come back down again. Notice as you alternate between the legs how steady you have to be in returning the foot down towards the floor and managing to maintain the same pelvis position. So there's quite a lot of care of you as you interchange between the two. Down to come up. And you sense that the thigh bone is dropping deeper as it lifts more vertically. And we'll take one more here. And pausing when the leg is down. Any props you have there, you can move out to the side. We're heading into side-to-side rotation, and we're looking at taking that rotation pattern with the legs up in the air. If you prefer to keep them down on the floor, then of course you can bring your feet in towards each other. Arms will go wider if you're elevated. So finding that, standing into the foot, lifting one of your legs. Palms are facing down. If you're using the legs raised option, big toe knuckles, ankle bones, and with legs raised here, we take an inhale for the pelvis to roll to one side. Tentative with your initial approach. And then breathing out to return back to your starting position, inhaling. If your feet are down on the floor, you could use this same breath pattern too, but you might feel more natural rolling the pelvis away from you on a breath out. The inhale as you're rocking to the side with the legs raised is just an increased stabilizer for the spine. And as you come back to the center next, whether your legs have been raised or lowered, bring your arms in beside you. The feet will always travel separately back down onto the floor, and then grabbing any cushions you might have available to you for your book openings. Big toes, ankle bones. And then opening your top arm, following it to the ceiling, wide through the collarbone to bring you round that little bit further. To close. How does it feel to get to the end of the exhale as you're coming round the corner here? Are you able to completely drop, soften, front skin, relaxed again? Is that possible? To bring you back. Rolling on to your other side. Last one. And when you're back in to your starting position, you can bring yourself back onto your back. We're going to head into your chest lift from here, interlacing the fingers and taking them behind the head. As you breathe out, notice the softening through the upper body. Send the back ribs back to bring your upper body forwards, and then inhaling to lay yourself back down. Breath out to curl up. Moving into the lengthened variation, where we start to utilize the arms, reaching forward and then widening through the elbows. Can you stay up at the height you create there via the use of arms before you lay down? Taking a breath out to curl up. It would be an inhale to reach and an exhale to draw yourself up a little higher. Hands come back behind the head and then you unravel to lay yourself down. And next time you curl up, you're going to stay up, so utilize the arms. You're going to be drawing your feet towards you and lifting the shins and feet up into the air. Maybe the hands need to reach further round the backs of the legs now. And then when you're ready, taking your breath in here. The legs go forwards, feet drop down, and you're up into your seated position. For this next movement, we're looking at spine stretch. So it might feel a little busy, bringing something underneath the pelvis, reaching for your band or your pole, and coming into your long sit. Now we're looking initially at using the band or the pole for the first moment here. So finding yourself on top of your sit bones, knowing of course that yes, we're tuning into right and left, but in a similar way we might have done with Mermaid in the past, we're also tuning into what feels like the front of the sit bones, what feels like it's the back of the sit bones, and looking to find ourselves in the middle there, at a point where perhaps it feels like there's more ease through the front of the leg and more ease through the spine in just its stacking. So you're reaching for your pole or your band there, and as if you're looking up towards the ceiling, you're going to be holding the arms out. And it's the same way, thumb and fingers have been separated, and perhaps a little bit more use of a pincing of the pole. Of course, you got a good hold of your band, maybe the fingers could be elongated there too. So you take your breath in, you're lowering. There's a feeling of diving up and over. And remember, as you're moving into a forward bend, your front ribs are closing. Could you be reaching your band or your pole towards the toes and then unraveling to come up? And the arms will still stay at shoulder height. We know that there is a lowering of the shoulders in terms of your overall height. And then inhaling to bring you back here. So notice the band and pole out in front of you. Notice as you lose sight of it and you start to restack, does it appear balanced out in front of you still? Helping you really just explore, are the shoulder blades moving in their balanced way on the back of you as well? Pause when you're up, and if you're feeling that in your arms, me too. Staying in your seated position. Remember, knees could be a little bit more bent. We're heading into a variation on saw now. And so the arms go out in front of you and you initially take your rotation as if you're moving towards the diagonal of your room. Perhaps you've got a vague sense of the thigh bone being right in the middle of the arms. Still on two sit bones. You're going to be lowering your gaze and reaching yourself forward in your spine stretch. We know there's extra load through these hamstrings here and maybe an extra stretch through the opposite side. If you swoop the arm down, the leading arm, as if you're about to take a front crawl moment and reach the fingertips away from each other. From there, you can swoop the arm back, swallow the front ribs, and in doing so, it starts to unravel you back to your starting position. Find yourself in the middle. Rotating to the opposite side, taking a breath in here. Lowering your gaze. Again, a sense of front ribs closing, a feeling of being more open through one side than the other, with us being on a diagonal. Extra reach through one side, extra length through one leg. Swoop the arm down and around, and then it's as if someone is gently moving the hands away from each other to take you around the corner there. Swoop back, swallow the front ribs, and as you do so, you'll find you begin to unravel and bring yourself up, back to center. Rotating. A little movement through the head, with a turning of the ear having come down. As the leading arm swoops and moves backwards, you're going to turn your gaze again as if you're about to take a breath out of the water and come into that crawl stroke. Back into the forward bend to center and return. Last one, sit bones, where are you? Lower your gaze. This arm swoops back, takes you into rotation, one ear down, one head turning, back into the forward bend as you swoop on back there. Still in both sit bones, but of course much heavier on one side with this variation. And then bringing yourself back to center. Off you come from there. You might keep a little cushion in play. We're heading into roll-up, moving towards full roll-up. And so you've got a choice whether you'd like to take a few preps with these, the band around the feet to get you moving. Maybe you then keep a little cushion behind you. And then the band could come out in front, or, as I'm going to demonstrate for you, the pole comes out in front. And so we've had the experience in our bodies of the spine stretch forward bend moment. We've opened a lot through the shoulders and the chest with the arm arcs. And now we're putting those together. Send the feet away, whether you're reaching them into your band as your prep, or whether there's a little intention initially for the backs of the legs to be a little bit straighter. Back of the pelvis, lower back drops down. You're still looking at your toes as the last thing before you find yourself at the ceiling. Arms could be wide here. Still a little bit of a bid for the upper arms to be rotated outwards. Pull comes to ceiling. Lowering the gaze. Diving up and over both sides. How does this feel in comparison to how it was before? Prior to that variation on saw that we just looked at. One more if you'd like to here. Noticing all of that within your own bodies. And then pausing when you're up. Taking your pole away for sure right now. We're going to look at a little bit of hamstring prep into side kick. And so with that, you're going to take your band, and if it goes initially around the foot that's furthest away from your screen, and you take another roll down moment there, straight down the middle as much as you can gauge that with the band just around the 1 foot. And then as the leg goes up into the air, the elbows are staying in contact with the floor. And so we have a softening of the knee and a pushing away with the band. The last one. Take the band away from that first leg and place it to the side. You're going to come and lay on your side. We've got 2 straight legs and we're moving into side kick. If you prefer to stay up on the forearm and that absolutely works for you, do so. Otherwise, options to come onto the elbow. Can you see how there might be a tiny hint of a bend, but it does look mainly like it's straight outside of the hip, connecting onto the floor. Next point of contact is the elbow. As opposed to being pencil straight, if you're on your forearm, on your elbow, you could afford to bring the legs forward of the body. So think front corner of your mat. Push down to lift, and you'll notice that the outside edge of the bottom foot is also going to push down and rotate. And then you're swinging your leg forward and swooping your leg backwards. Sit bone wide as it comes forward, using the hamstring lengthener movement that you've just covered. And then swooping back. You've got an inhale and perhaps an exhale if that feels like it works for you. A little bit of a connection again of little toe side into the floor. And our last one here. Swooping on back there and resting down. Heading over onto our second side. Could be your same approach. And then reaching into the band to take the leg up to the ceiling. And last one here. So really prepping the back of the leg, and now of course we can be a little more dynamic. I'm going to turn to face away from you for this side, lining up initially as if we are pencil straight. Options to prop yourself up on your forearm as your variation. Otherwise, moving the legs once you're there. Externally rotating your bottom leg as the top leg lifts, and then swinging the leg forward and swooping it back. Perhaps an inhale as you kick forward and an exhale for the back. Last one. And pausing when you're back. Lowering down there and then pushing yourself up. We are heading into our mermaid movement, into our side bend movement. Options to bring your little blocks into play or cushions. You're starting with your left leg in front and your right leg behind you. And when you're there, sit bone, forwards and backwards, quite gently, just sort of feeling and finding that for yourself. And then it will be right arm lifting up first to take you over to the left. Breath in when you're here. And breath out to bring you back up again. Got an inhale. Last one here. From there, switch your legs. And then taking a breath in as soon as you're ready. Last one here. To come back. Side bend. Both options. So you know you could start in a very tucked shape with the legs. Hand is probably going to feel like it's more middle of your thigh bones. Alternatively, you can start with the feet further away from you and staggered feet. So top foot goes forward. So if you're balancing on your left arm, then your right foot is forward of the left. And then here you are, whichever variation you're choosing to do, really winding round the upper arm, pushing down into the floor and straightening the legs to bring you into that bend. And so pushing with the arm, really drawing the underside ribs in, and then slowly lowering yourself back down to where you came from. Down to come up. Using the arm to help give you that recall of the side bend of the body, slowly lowering yourself down. If you feel you might come down quickly, start with a cushion underneath the side of the hip. And then slowly returning all the way back down. Same thing on your other side. Option-wise, stacked feet, hand position, or of course, slightly more lengthened, top leg forward. So on this side for you, left foot forward, right foot back if that's where you're going. And of course you're bearing weight on your right hand here. Pushing down to lift into the bend. And then slowly lowering yourself back down again. You might notice that your front foot naturally pushes against the floor as a whole. That could be helpful adding in if it hasn't naturally happened, or you can stay on the inner edge. Down to come up. And then slowly lowering yourself back down again. You can do this without the pole, but bring it along with you as you come to lay on your front. I'm just going to pop a cushion there because I know that this could roll away from me if I don't. We're all starting with Swan, so finding yourself on your front, hands below your shoulders, or maybe you head for more of a goalpost movement, and then just walking the legs away from the pelvis to find yourself on your front for the first time. Taking your breath in, reaching the crown of the head forward and widening and drawing the blades back. And then breath out to bring you back down again. So inhaling, collarbones widening and shoulder blades moving into your clothing behind you there. Just gently bringing yourself back down again. Couple more. When you're down, arms could either be straight out, flat on the floor, or heels of the hands could be resting on the roller. Now, there is a chance that this roller could slide on the flooring that I have, in which case I would move down the mat and have the pole on the mat instead. But it's going to be heels of the hands, and similar to how it started when you were on your back with your bridging movement. And you could begin with some elevation and depression up and down of the shoulders. And you can hear that an inhale as you elevate and exhale as you depress seems to complement the inflation and deflation of the ribs. And then once you're breathing out next, there is a feeling of pushing down on the pole here. The sternum goes forward, the shoulder blades are coming down still. They're also feeling like they're heading back. And if you feel like you run out of pole, I'm sort of just clawing at it with my fingers, then next time you head down, moving the hands up. Maybe they start more towards the wrist area. Perhaps you have to take any watches off. You can still take an up and still take a down, and the crown of the head starts to move. And then at some point, certainly when you feel the heels of the hands there, doesn't feel like it restricts you quite so much. If you'd like to keep on lengthening through that. And the essence of the swan is still there. The principles are the same. There's a drawing down of the blades as there's a reaching forward of the crown. You're trying to get yourself up and through the arms. I'm going to start even lower still, I think. I'm going to show you one without any prop. You've still got some support, but the hands slide away from you and slide back in. Pausing when you're down and then bringing yourself up into your rounded either child's pose or cat stretch. Heading up to stand and moving into our standing roll down. Finding your feet. And then lowering the gaze. As you move to the bottom, feel free to walk out into a plank. And there you are. Well done, everyone. Take care.